Hello, I am Jyotika. Welcome to Excelling Psychology. In today's class, we will learn how to answer paper 4 for Oxford International A Levels AQA Psychology. If you're a UK AQA Psychology student, this lesson is useful for you too because we are going to look at approaches and issues and debates. Same type of questions come for UK AQA Psychology as they come for Oxford International. In the first part of this lesson, which is in this video, I will be covering section A approaches. In the next part that I will upload, I will cover issues and debates. And in the final part, I will cover psychology applied to work. I'm going to teach you how to write answers, how to read the questions, how to consider the marks allotted, how to meet mark scheme requirements, how to structure your answers, what content to cover within each question. So, the objective is not to make you memorize answers, but to teach you how to address different types of questions, as I always do. Before I begin, I want you to know that I am a private tutor for Oxford AQA International and UK AQA Psychology A levels and GCSE. So if you need to schedule your classes with me, my WhatsApp number and email ID are available in the description box and pinned comment below. Okay, so let's begin with today's lesson. In section A, let's read the first question. Kyra, who is 3 years old, watches her mother water some plants with a watering can. The next day, Kyra waters the plant using her toy watering can. Question 1. What is meant by mediational processes? And this is worth 2 marks. What is meant by? Although the command term describe has not been used, it is the same. It is the equivalent of that. They're asking you to describe what mediational processes are. This is an AO1 command term, means you have to only describe. You must not give any strengths or weaknesses because that goes into EO3. You must also not apply the situation to what Kyra is doing. I'm sorry, you must not apply the answer that you give to what Kyra is doing because as of now, they have asked an EO1 question. They have not indicated anywhere in the question that first explain what mediational processes are and then explain how Kyra is showing these mediational processes. So, right now, the question that we are looking at 1.1, in that we only strictly have to describe mediational processes. That's all. You can think of it as what you have learned about mediational processes in your textbook. You just have to put down that in the answer. Now, whenever they ask you to describe something, there's a standard format of going about it. First, just give a definition of that term. So, under social learning approach, cognitive, social cognitive approach, Bandura's theory basically, you have learned about mediational processes. There, you have learned the definition. So, write that definition here and then give any elaboration or example to justify second mark. 1 mark you will get for the definition, 1 mark for any further evaluation, elaboration or example. I'll give you an example. First, you can define the mediational processes. You know, they are the cognitive processes that occur between observation and imitation of a role model. So, that can be your definition. Then, you can give an example, say, from Bandura's study, where the children, the preschool children, they observed a role model acting aggressively with toys, particularly the Bobo doll. And then the child paid attention to the model first, then remembered what the model has done because later the child got an opportunity because it was a delayed imitation test. So after some time, only the child could show the aggression that they had learned from the role model. So how attention, retention, those type of mediational processes were seen in Bandura at all. You can give that as an example. And I know giving examples of all the four mediational processes becomes excessive. So you can just give one or two also. You don't need to give all. Alternatively, first you can define mediational processes like I've suggested. And then you can just give the names of those processes. That is also worth credit. And you need not define each of the four mediational processes. That becomes excessive. So you can just name them. I would suggest you take the second approach because, like I told you, even if you apply to Bandura, it can become a little excessive, though it's allowed. Also, one more thing I want you to note, as I've suggested in my previous videos, if you look at the second part of a question, like this is 1.1, so you know there will be a 1.2 also. There is going to be something connected to 1.1 that you're going to find in 1.2 as well. Like here you can see they're asking you to apply your knowledge of mediation processes to Kyra, which is expected. Otherwise, why would they give such a situation of Kyra? So, from that point of view, also, if you just outline which are the four processes, it's a very smooth transition then to link it to Kyra. It's like in the first part, you've named the processes, and in second, with the help of Kyra situation, you can just show where the processes are. So, that's why also I recommend taking this approach. Let's look at the model answer. You can see first, a definition is given. These are the cognitive processes that take place between observing and imitation. Copying is mentioned here, that's fine. And then processes are named then in order: attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation. As simple as that. Do not write excessively. You know, in A levels, you have about 1 minute per mark. So if you're going to write 4, 5 sentences, the examiner is not going to credit anything ahead of 2 points. So then unnecessarily you'll be wasting time and then you'll struggle later with your long answers. Okay, so let's look at the next question. Using your knowledge of mediation processes, explain Kyra's behavior. This is entirely AO2 because using your knowledge, they want you to apply to a given situation. It's only application. You've already given the processes before you have said what mediational processes are. Do not repeat here. Do not give any descriptive point here. That's the most common mistake students make, to keep on giving descriptive points no matter what the question is. So understand that they want you to apply. They don't want you to give further description. Second, it's for 4 marks. So make sure you have 4 points. Always take the marks as guidance as to how many points you should cover. This is extremely straightforward. We have named 4 processes. We just have to link each of the processes to Kyra. So that's the structure. Take one process at a time, keep linking it to Kyra. Just do it 4 times. Now, how do you need to think about this? What you need to think is, I have mentioned attention. How does attention apply to Kyra? Or you think of it as, where in this situation is Kyra showing attention? Basically, when she's watching her mother water the plants. So you need to point out that. Then you've mentioned retention. Where are you seeing retention? When the next day Kyra goes to water the can. Not immediately, she goes the next day. Means she must be remembering or she must have retained it till the next day. Where do you see reproduction? She also waters the plant. The movement which her mother did of watering the plant, she also does it. And motivation? Motivation, there are multiple things, like what motivates people according to Bandura. You must have learned about vicarious reinforcement, identification, or simply you could say that a model is present. That's why. So either you can point out that it's her mother, so she's like a very desirable model to Kyra, or you could say that identification because same sex role model. Reinforcement here we don't see as such, so not very applicable. So, like this, just think of how each of the processes applies to Kyra and then just write it down. There, write itself, you get 4 sentences and you get 4 marks. So, let's look at the model answer. So, Kyra pays attention by seeing the mother using the watering can. Then she retains the behavior because she waters the plant the next day. So, she stores in her mind how to water. Then she's able to reproduce the behavior because she has the physical ability to do the same action with her toy watering can. And she's motivated because her mother is like a key role model at her age. She's a young girl after all. We see in the beginning, it's mentioned she's 3 years. So we can make use of that information and indicate that typically for a child of this age, their parent tends to be a highly desirable role model. So very, very simple question. I think all that is required is that you have learned all the 4 mediation processes. You know that is a requirement in your approaches section. Okay, let's look at the next question. Briefly describe 2 ways in which evolution has affected behavior. These type of 4 markers where they ask for 2 of something, they are just like extensions of 2 marker questions. If it was for 2 marks, what you would have done? Something like what we did at the beginning, right? You would suggest one way, give an example or elaboration. So you just need to do it once more. So you give one more way and you give example or elaborate. How evolution has affected behavior, describe. I've already told you AO1 command term. So do not give strengths and weaknesses, and there is no situation to apply it. Now, this answer also, I'll say it's very straightforward because in evolution, we know only two mechanisms are there. Everything boils down to survival and reproduction. So there is nothing more to discuss. So when they say two ways, you know, one point you'll have to give on this and one on the other one. Just give examples. I think that tends to be the easiest. You can elaborate. I'll give you examples of elaboration also, but I would say what can make your answer very clear, like to show your understanding, is to give an example of each. Like this particular behavior has come for survival and that particular behavior has come for reproduction. Why I'm saying give examples? Because if you look at the rubric, and in Oxford AQA, for every small question also there is a rubric according to which they mark it. So rubrics don't apply only to the bigger questions. They apply to literally 4 markers, sometimes 2 markers also. So there they expect knowledge to be effective and explanation has to be there. That requirement is always there. So when you give examples, your explanation that you've really understood the topic, that becomes very clear. In elaboration, what happens? Some students elaborate very well. They show their understanding. Others just keep on writing rote learned facts. So it doesn't become clear whether they've understood or not. So I'll give you one example. Say first you're saying that such behaviors are there for survival. Now you can further elaborate and show your understanding that because ancestors have been able to protect themselves, so they have survived, and that has enabled the larger goal of continuing the human species. But like I told you, this elaboration most students are not able to give. The way I gave it with like appropriate terminology and all, some students just write very casually. Like they'll keep on repeating the same point. Some behaviors are needed for survival so that ancestors could stay alive. Then they lose marks. Then they don't understand why they're not getting marks. The reason is because you're just going on repeating the same thing. Doesn't show you've understood why behaviors are important or not. So that is where you're losing marks. So, like I said, instead of that, just give an example instead. Let's look at the model answer. So, one way it has affected behavior is natural selection, meaning survival. Any behavior that can increase survival is selected by the species and it's passed on to future generations. So, an example of this is the ancestors were quicker to escape danger, they were more likely to survive and reproduce. So, the tendency to quickly escape danger, that is one survival tendency. In fact, though it's not mentioned here, I would personally recommend that you suggest fight or flight mechanism. One, it's directly from your syllabus and it'll be a more prominent example. Like when we say fast running away from danger, fight or flight helps to do that. So that behavior, because we know today also it's there in us. So it has emerged from ancestors' need to survive. Next is sexual selection. So now we come to reproduction. Behaviors that increase attractiveness are passed on. So here let's see the example. Like anything that signals strength or health has been passed on for reproductive success. Again, I would recommend, though definitely you get full marks for this, give a more specific example. So either you can say males are attracted to younger females because it indicates their health and ability to reproduce compared to older females, or the other example you can give that females are more attracted to resourceful males because they feel that those males will be able to give a good future to their offspring. So these sexual selection strategies, which are there, basically what we call mate preferences, they have emerged for the need to reproduce, again to continue the species. Okay, so make sure you've given 4 points here to earn 4 marks. Let's come to the next question. Again, some situation is given. Kamal has recently suffered a head injury and is now having difficulty making new memories. Explain how a cognitive neuroscientist would investigate Kamal's difficulty. Okay, very, very major mistake that students will make. I can see in the wording of the question only. They will just see cognitive, they'll ignore the neuroscientist part. That is the key thing here, actually. Because if you suggest something like it's a cognitive psychologist, so they will investigate thoughts and beliefs of Kamal, that's not what they want. They want particularly neuroscientist. So we know whom we call a neuroscientist, someone who uses brain scanning technology to scan the nervous system and link the structure and the functioning of the nervous system to cognitive processes, basically. That has to come out in the answer. So when you see a question like this, first remember what have you learned about the concept. Here the key concept is cognitive neuroscience. This is what you have learned, that many scientists use brain scanning technology and link that to cognitive processes to understand from where in the brain these processes are emerging. Now, coming back to Kamal's situation, it is particularly about memory. Under cognitive neuroscience, you've learned about lots of different cognitive processes like language, memory, attention. Out of that, they're asking you for memory. So, also think about which technology is used to investigate memory and which parts of the brain are linked with memory. So, hippocampus, for example, and which technology can be used to study hippocampus. If you want to study it structurally, then something like MRI. If you want to study it functionally, then something like fMRI or PT. Another thing that will come to many students' mind is, do we need to quote a specific study? Definitely not. This is not an evaluate type of question. This is strictly AO2. Like I told you for the previous also, if some situation is given and you're required to apply some concept to that situation, becomes AO2. If you have to give a specific study in which, say, memory was investigated, that becomes AO3 because that becomes like a strength point. That is not expected here. So, considering that it is for 2 marks, only 2 points have to be given. One, what the cognitive psychologist would do, and then second, some further elaboration. An answer should be fully contextualized. Everything should be about Kamal because it is AO2. It should not be AO1. It should not be general at all. So just make sure to give 2 points. Like first can be literally naming that a cognitive psychologist would use, say, fMRI technology. And second elaboration would be, so he makes Kamal do some memory task and at that time he investigates activity in the hippocampus as Kamal is doing the task. That's all. So let's see the model answer. So brain scan would be used as Kamal does a memory task. So that will help the psychologist to see if there's any damage or reduced activity in the hippocampus. And they can compare it also to normal individuals because they've mentioned here that a head injury is there. So that's why we can talk about comparison with normal people. Let's look at the next question. Explain one strength and one limitation of the use of theoretical and computer models to study mental processes. Though explain is the command term, but immediately after that they say strength and weakness. So this is definitely AO3. Unconditionally, doesn't matter what is the command term, strength weakness means AO3. Entire 6 marks are for AO3. Now, increasingly, we are seeing a very bad trend in students' answers is to give descriptive points for AO3. That's increasing a lot. So, something like they'll say one strength is there are many computer models to study mental processes, like say Atkinson and Shiffrin or Baddeley's models are there. And then they'll just describe in 2, 3 sentences what it is. That's not a strength. That's just description or an example of which model you have learned. It's not credit worthy at all. Just because you signpost with a strength and then you give that point, it does not count as AO3. So first understand this very carefully. Next, how you can present something you have learned from MSM or WMM as a strength is, you must have learned many studies that have been done to prove or support those models. Give one of them. If that is only what is coming to your mind and you're not able to think of anything else, you can give, for example, Badley's own studies on working memory, or you could give Conrad's study, which is very famous, or you could give from multi-store model. There are just so many. You can give like Sperling's research or Jacobs or Peterson and Peterson, Barrick, any of those, and say that these computer models, such as say MSM, has been supported by this study. That will count as a strength because there you're saying a study supporting the model, so you're indicating how the model is credible or it has good validity. But by itself, just describing the model does not count as a strength. Now, if you don't want to give a very specific strength, what other strength you can give? More from what you've learned in approaches. See, one strength can very easily be the benefit that psychologists have derived from it. It's like application, how research has become better enabled by using these models, because we saw these models have come up in the first place because it's very difficult to describe a complex process like memory. So they've simplified understanding and they've enabled research. Basically, these are heuristic models, so that can be there. In terms of weakness, definitely they are oversimplified account. If we have introduced something just to reduce complexity and so that it can be researched upon easily, clearly we have made a compromise there. We are not studying the process realistically. Just to enable research on it, we have done away or we have truncated the concept in some way. So that is the weakness. I would strongly suggest you take this strength and weakness only. These are the most applicable ones. Of course, if you have learned any supporting study, contradictory study, you can give those also. Make sure to develop both the points. It's for 6 marks. So each point is worth 3 marks here. I will not be able, like, I don't have time. I won't be able to take up full, like, how to write a peel paragraph and all. But I'm sure you've been seeing my previous videos. So many are there. In every video, I talk about the peel format of writing. I'll show you in the model answer. So make sure to follow that format. What I mean to say is make sure both your points are well developed. Don't simply name the points and, leave them there. Like, one strength is it is heuristic and one weakness is it is oversimplistic. Even if it's correct, it'll barely get you 1 or 2 marks. The marking for 6 markers is also done with the rubric. In that, you will see requirements are evaluation has to be effective. Underdeveloped points, which are generic or which are just named, they don't qualify for level 3 or level 4 at all. They count under evaluation is limited or evaluation has some effectiveness depending on what half baked development you have done of the points. So make sure your points are fully developed, then only you can reach full 6 marks. I know it's abstract, so now with the model answer, I'll show you how. So, one strength is they allow psychologists to visualize and test mental processes that cannot be directly observed. Basically, we are saying they make the abstract concrete. So, this is a strength. This is counted as a point in the peel format. We just name the feature which is a strength. So the fact that they help to visualize and test mental processes, that's a strength. And you can also see signposting here. We are indicating this is a strength. Many students have a bad habit. They just begin with the models help to visualize and test mental processes. So is this a strength or weakness? The examiner has to read the full paragraph to figure that out. Why not write in the beginning only that this is a strength and orient the examiner that in this paragraph we are talking about strengths. Then to develop further in the peel format, what you need to do, give evidence or give examples. So in the next sentence, you can see that memory helps to, models help to explain how we move through different stages. So evidence. You can name a specific model also. Like you can say multi-store moves from sensory memory to long-term memory. Here also multi-store is given, though it's not named, but I would suggest you name it. So going from short-term to long-term memory. Then coming to elaboration. Why is this a strength? Okay, we understood that models help to see memory like linearly and to actually observe memory process. But why is that a strength? Because then we can test predictions scientifically. If any researcher has any prediction, for example, that if short term memory involves rehearsal, then at one point rehearsal will be sufficient to transition information into long term memory. That can be tested scientifically because we have been able to visualize the model. If we had not bifurcated it into stages, it would not be possible to do tests on individual components like rehearsal or short term memory. So, here we have given explanation why is this a strength. And finally, link. So, what is the benefit of all this? Credibility, validity increases. Now, coming to limitation. Same way, peel format, signposting, this is a limitation, and then saying it oversimplifies human thinking. So, this is the feature, which is a limitation. Then, to give an example, it does not account for emotional or motivational processes. So, why we are saying that it is oversimplified, like what is missing exactly, we are giving examples of that. No emotional, no motivational processes, only memory is looked at only cognitively. Why is this a weakness? Because these factors do influence real human decision making. More than decision making, I feel it should have been written memory. So these should have been taken into account. This reduces the validity, or you could say ecological validity or generalizability to real settings of the model. And that is why we are saying it's problematic to conceptualize memory in this way. Okay, so this is how we answer any 6 marker evaluation question. Now, coming to the very last question for this section, which is on Skinner's research. It's a 12 marker. So, right at the beginning, we know 12 markers come for AO1, 6 marks, AO2, 0, sorry, AO3, 6 marks. Unless there's a situation given. Here, there's no situation given. So, we're very sure this is AO1, 6 and AO3, 6. And it's clearly indicated also because describe is the AO1 command term, evaluate is AO3. One very problematic trend that is increasing is students are giving way too much of evaluation and not giving sufficient points for description. I don't know why that is happening. In my classes, I really teach both equally, both are equally important. And after all, your AO3 has to be based off of what you have written in AO1. But maybe, I don't know, maybe this tendency is because students are more anxious about evaluation. They're not very sure they'll be able to learn strengths and weaknesses properly. So they end up dedicating unnecessarily too much time to it and they don't give that much time to A1. Make sure you're giving equal time to both when you make your essay outlines. Make sure you have sufficient points for both. You should not neglect either because rubric requires that both knowledge and evaluation should be effective so that you're in the top mark band. If any one is this thing compromised on, then you're not going to get full marks. Okay, now what has been asked, Skinner's research into operant conditioning. See, very careful about the wording. Many students, they don't read the full question carefully and then they wonder why I didn't get marks. They are not asking you theory. Though, frankly speaking, in AQA, even theory is considered under research. Like they always mention on the mark scheme, research means either theory or studies or like group of studies, like review studies. But still, I would personally recommend when they say research, think about Skinner's literal research using his Skinner box, which gave rise to the theory of operant conditioning. Like, I would strongly recommend you don't evaluate operant conditioning theory by itself. You evaluate and describe the research which was done into founding operant conditioning. Now, if it's allowed to give the theory, why am I suggesting this? Because many examiners will be strict about this, despite being written in the mark scheme that even theory is fine. They will feel that only say you have described the theory. So, say you have described the 2 types of reinforcement and 2 types of reinforcers, 2 types of punishment, schedules of reinforcement. They will fail to see where there is research in this. So, they will say that at least some element should have been there of how research brought about at least one or two of these concepts, which is missing. So, to be on the safe side, I would say you just take it as research that has been done. And when it comes to Skinner, especially, or even if it was Pavlov instead, you know that for like a very particular study is not given as a key study. So, you don't really have to worry about, you know, I don't remember how many participants were there, or I don't remember the exact numerical results. These research studies are very classic and very broad based. So there are no specific details to memorize and write. I don't think there should be any issue in describing any of Skinner's studies. The only thing you should be able to do is describe the paradigm, like how there was a box, what was there in the box, how a rat used to be placed, what used to be done with the rat, that way. No specific study with aim, procedure, results, conclusion. So I don't think it should be that much of a problem. So to break it down, what you need to do in AO1, like I said, describe the Skinner box and all, just Skinner box paradigm, 1, 2 examples of studies broadly, like say the rat and positive reinforcement study, rat and negative reinforcement study, you can give that. Always follow knowledge understanding example type of format in AO1. Again, I won't be able to detail in this video too much, but basically keep making some point, elaborate on it to show your understanding and give examples. I'll show you in the model answer. So make sure to cover all of this in AO1. There's no fixed number of sentences as such, but I would say because it's worth 6 marks, 150 to 200 words you can write on this. So, roughly, how much does it come to? 10, 15 sentences you can write. I'm just giving very broad rules of thumb because there's no rule as such of how much to write. Then, coming to AO3, that's also for 6 marks. Follow PEEL format, like I told you. My very strong recommendation always, if you see my previous videos, also 12 markers, when it's for 6 marks, just now also we were doing a 6 marks evaluation. To be like well balanced, though it's not a strong requirement, one strength, one weakness I recommend, and in any one, just take a counterpoint or just make any one of them about a study. That makes for very effective evaluation. That is not to say you can't give effective evaluation without following this particular structure. You can, but just it's an easier way to make it effective. Okay, so let's begin. Now, everything remaining I will explain with the model answer. I think in the model answer, you can take a screenshot if you need to because it can take me time to upload this on my website. This much is AO1, this much is AO3. So you'll see very good formatting is there. Okay, so coming to Skinner research, always we begin with knowledge, like I told you. So knowledge is that he's looking at how behavior was shaped by consequences. So broadly, what sort of research you're trying to do, that is mentioned. That's like a knowledge point. Now, what do we mean by this? So understanding or explanation. That behavior is learnt and maintained by reinforcement and punishments. When he talks about consequences, he means reward and punishing. So there we have shown our understanding. We know what it means by consequences. Then another knowledge point is given that he used to use highly controlled apparatus called Skinner box. Then again to show understanding. What is there in the Skinner box? Like why is it called Skinner box? Because it has a particular structure. So there's a lever or a switch, there's food dispenser, light, all that is mentioned. If you're wondering where are the examples, as I've told you in other videos, knowledge, understanding, example, KUE is not a very fixed structure. You can go back and forth and later the examples can come. So example comes in the next paragraph. Just make sure to give all of them. Make sure you're giving knowledge point also, explanation and example, everything. Don't skip on any. Even if you're not following it rigidly point after point. So now that we've mentioned what the Skinner box is, how experiments have been done in that examples can be given. So first is the standard positive reinforcement example of the rat, how he was delivered some food pellets and so by chance first he would jump on the switch, then deliberately he would keep on jumping in desire of the positive reinforcement. Then the negative reinforcement can be the second example, in which the floor was electrified and the only way of escaping that electric shock was to jump on the lever. Again, the rat would repeatedly jump on the lever. Once it understood that the consequence of jumping will be that the electric shock will stop. Now, what would Skinner do? So, okay, this is the research, but research, like, what is it helping him to find? That also we have to say. Like, only describing the research is not enough. After all, it's about operant conditioning. So, what contribution did this research make to the theory? It allowed him to measure learning objectively because he used a standardized Skinner box and he would keep quantifying the frequency with which rat would press the lever. So definitely it shows that reinforcement, successive approximation and all, everything is learned step by step. And that is what helped formulate the operant conditioning theory. So this is what your 6 marker structure should look like for this answer Skinner's research. Like I told you, common mistake is just to keep on naming the concepts and defining them and not giving any research indication. I would say more focus should be on Skinner box, like you've seen here. I think now it's concrete enough for you to see how it is applied. As I told you before, anytime take a screenshot and for future reference you can keep on looking. Now coming to AO3. For one strength, though there are many, the most prominent one which will come to mind is control. Like because all these behavioral psychologists they had very like quantitative and objective methods, right? So I would suggest you take that control standardization, basically lab experiment. Other very strong evaluation points I just want to bring to your notice: application, How Skinner's theory has been used to develop token economies, for example, or shaping chaining procedures, SPR, secondary positive reinforcement, any of that. Overall, behavioral psychology's contribution to make psychology scientific, to give it a scientific status. Skinner's theory has been very heuristic. It has generated a lot of other research. A lot of other researchers have taken inspiration from Skinner. So, any of the studies that you have done, again, they could be token economy studies or SPR type of studies. So, any these points also very strong for Skinner's theory. If you want to, but again, I would like, because focus on research, I would say something to do with the studies. That is my preference. No hard and fast rule. So first let's look at this, then I'll suggest some weaknesses. So again, the peel format, signposting the strength, high level of control, and then of course giving specific examples, like the environment was tightly controlled, solely reinforcement could cause behavior, no other factor. So, because that has been manipulated by research and it's made sure, we've already described how the box is very controlled, a very fixed food delivery mechanism and liver and all. So, we can be very sure that indeed it is because of only the reinforcement that was coming, that rat was pressing the behavior in a certain way, was pressing the liver. Also, like I said, you can give a counterpoint somewhere. So, for the strength, the counterpoint is given. We know there is always a trade off between control and ecological validities, because it's so controlled, we are not sure whether everyday environments which are not matching the Skinner box, definitely, after all we are talking about humans, not about rats. Even rats would be freer in an everyday environment than in a cage. So there where the people would show such positive responses towards reinforcement, like learn behaviors with so much eagerness like the rat did in the cage, we can't be sure, because there'll be many distractions and other reinforcement punishment mechanisms in everyday life. So, as I said, point is control, explanation or evidences that was very tightly controlled. Explanation why this is a strength, because definitely we can establish that whatever behaviors there's because of reinforcement, link validity. Basically, cause effect or causation becomes very clear, and counterpoint is also there in terms of how ecological validity gets reduced. Now, just brainstorming weaknesses at first again. Many weaknesses are there of Skinner's research, like, for example, reductionism, many other ways also then which behaviors can be learned. Consequences are not the only ways. Determinism, no room for free will, as if someone has truly be manipulated according to rewards and punishments and people cannot think for themselves. Ignorance of cognitive processes, that also comes under reductionism, not taking into account the capability of thinking and determining what one wants to do oneself. And also other weaknesses can be application is there, but it can be difficult to apply to everyday life, because the situation like he has used Skinner box, that requires some institutional type of setting, like we see in token economies. In everyday life, it can be very hectic to track behavior and reinforce at correct schedules. It's not amenable to everyday settings, basically. So again, any of these weaknesses are very good. I would suggest stick to the more research type of weakness. So extrapolation issues I would recommend. The one which somewhat I took under reductionism, that these studies are done on rats, and when we come to apply to humans, generalizability, or what we call extrapolation from animals to humans, that is very difficult. So first, definitely we can point out this is the weakness, and then the evidence is that humans, like when we are saying why it will not generalize to humans, that humans do have conscious decision making capability unlike rats. So this is the example of why it will not generalize. So what is a problem for this? It is reductionist because it just ignores mental processes. So it's not accounting for something that's definitely going to impact humans, and that is why we can link off by saying We are not sure whether this mechanism which Skinner has given, or the theory that consequences will determine behavior, will apply to human behavior. There is a specific example also given here, though it's not needed, but it's a good one, so we can look at it. Like if a child is going to be rewarded by cheating in an exam, let's say the supervisor is not available, so they are getting an opportunity to cheat. The What Skinner would say is the child will definitely cheat in such a situation because the reward of getting high marks becomes possible. Like let's say the child can open their textbook and they can directly write the answers from there. Still, there will be children, even in this situation, they will not choose to cheat. Why? Because out of their own moral reasoning. So, somewhere their cognitive processes, their thinking is more important than the consequence that is going to come in this case. So, that is something that Skinner has ignored. So, this is the 12-mark answer. This is how you should write it. As I told you, the scope of the video is limited. I can't go into every detail on exactly how every point is structured, but I have made other videos like this on my channel previously. You can watch them. And if you're on my main channel right now, if you're watching this on Excelling Psychology, then there are members only videos with dedicated videos like how to write AO3, how to write AO1, how to perform AO3 without studies, and many more such videos are going to come. So I strongly recommend you take membership with very nominal fees of that channel, and you can learn all those exam writing strategies which I'm not able to cover in full-fledged videos like this. If you have any thoughts about this video, like any comments or question, you can leave them in the description box below. Please do not contact me personally with any video that you have seen on this channel. I will not be able to respond on personal contact. So do make use of the comments box for any communication about these videos. I will definitely respond in time. Thank you for watching, and I'll upload part B very soon. Goodbye.